My name is Tim Benniks and welcome back to the channel. In this video it's me being interviewed rather than me interviewing someone else. This interview happened at the Vue.js Amsterdam conference, where in the back they actually have a little studio where they interview speakers and do a podcast and such. Normally they interview other speakers after their talk about what they think of the conference and things like that. They did the same with me, but because I'm collaborating with them to do stuff for my YouTube channel and their stuff that they do for the community, I actually get to publish my own interview. So this interview is around 25 minutes. We go in depth on how I do the work that I do, my philosophy about managing teams, but also what I think about the new headless revolution and how big CMSs are working on that. So without further ado, this is the interview with Tim Benniks, me at Vue.js Amsterdam.
Hello and welcome, I'm Harris from Passionate People, here with Chris from Passionate People and Tim Benniks. We just delivered an awesome speech on stage at Vue.js Amsterdam. It was about leadership and putting team first. Let me ask you first right off the bat, how do you like the conference this year? Of course, because you're a returning speaker.
So I really love this conference, and it's set up super well, and the organizers, they do a great job. So yes, I'm super happy that I had the honor to come back, actually. I would love to come back again, but we'll see if that works, because it's getting so famous now, everybody wants to speak here.
It's true. I do have to say, and I'm speaking from a personal perspective here because I cannot speak for everyone who's involved with the conference, but I think it's great to have you back here on stage.
Oh, thanks. That's great.
I think it's really, really nice also as having a talk that doesn't focus on like the pure Vue.js aspect, but also the things that are important when it comes to development, which is not directly related to coding.
Yeah, exactly, because there's a lot of conferences that go super technical, and then actually the tools that people need to get so technical, I discuss those, right? And those are the tools that people need to be able to get the freedom to do that code. So I think it's important that you have some sort of aspect of this at every conference.
Nice.
So can you tell us about your interaction with Vue.js community? So of course you come to an event like this, but during the rest of the year, what's your relationship with Vue.js and the community?
Well, since last year, or maybe 2 years ago, we started a big project with Vue.js. And it wasn't actually my choice, but they said, this is what we're using, so go for it. And then, of course, you're going to have to use it and go deep and ask questions. And that worked well for a year. We did a bunch of pull requests and starting to get a bit more involved. And then 2019 came and I decided, okay, I need to talk about the work we do because it's pretty cool. And a lot of people do this work, but nobody speaks for them. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do conference talks. And the moment you go on stage, you meet those other people that are also in the Vue community. And then I realized, hey, if I use Twitter, I can actually talk to them. Because I was one of the first Twitter users and I just didn't use it. And suddenly I started to tweet and people tweeted back and cool stuff started to happen. So a community forms like organically. So yeah, that's how it happened.
So now you use Twitter mainly for your being in the loop about what's going on in the industry.
Actually, I started using Twitter really for work. When I want to do anything work related or code related or open source related, Twitter is by far the best for me anyways.
And quite recently, you've started using Twitter in a completely different sense. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that? You touched upon it when you started your talk, and then you moved on to your actual subject. But maybe this is nice to sort of detail it a little bit more.
Yes, let's have a look at that. So basically, you can of course also automate Twitter. So I had this project, or at least I had an idea, and I made it into a project because I used to be fat as a kid all the time. It made me feel terrible. And it took me a long time to realize how do I lose the weight and feel better again, right? So many years ago, I learned that if I have a bit of like public accountability, I actually make sure I keep doing it. And now I moved to Paris, I ate all the good food and I started to gain a bit of weight again. So I decided, okay, I need to do a project with public accountability that fits in my scope of work. So I decided to build an application when I step on the scale in the morning. It would do all this automated stuff over the internet, and then it would eventually post a tweet. So I would step in the morning on the scale, and after 10 seconds, there's a tweet that says, Tim weighs this much. And I used all these fancy new technologies with Netlify, and like basically everything that was discussed today, I've actually used those tools to learn the tools, to do my own project, to hook all those things together. And today was actually my goal. I didn't make it, not even by far, but it was nice to try.
Halfway though. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's impressive nonetheless.
The thing is, I try to keep it healthy, because I could have made, like, I had to lose like 12 kilos in 3 months. I could probably do it, but then how healthy is that? I was just a stupid goal. To be honest.
Either way, it's a pretty cool use of technology to try to achieve the goals.
It taught me so much that I made a talk about Jamstack and serverless that I didn't decide to do today, because the guys asked me to talk about Team first, but that made me understand it, and actually I made a talk about it. So I'll do that in another conference now. So you buy those projects, you teach yourself, and you open career possibilities, because now I get to speak to Divya, who works at Netlify, and I can give her feedback on her product. Well, there's not much feedback, it's great, but this is cool because you've now used it, right? So you should really do this kind of stuff next to work if you have the time, I'd say.
That's a great advice.
Well, for me, it's like it comes. I cannot stop it. So but not everybody has that, obviously, but...
So you mentioned automation, and there's a question I wanted to already ask you. Given your leadership position, role at your company, and also the helicopter view you have, how do you see automation disrupting developer jobs in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think it's going to disrupt a lot. If that's great or not, I don't know. I think for now we should focus on automating processes, like being able to deploy something very quickly, for example, or to automate your testing. Like, we have so much room to win before we start automating what we code. I think in the coming years, you'll see a lot of tools where you do, let's say what Netlify already does. I commit to Git and suddenly a deploy happened. Well, this kind of stuff is going to come to enterprise, because I work a lot in enterprise with those big systems, and it's much harder to get it there, but there's a lot brewing. So all those big systems from enterprise are starting to do the Netlify style of work, and people are starting to do cloud and Docker containers and automating the orchestration. So I'd say in the coming years that we'll see first, and then but that starts with smaller companies like Next, right, and Netlify, and that it all comes down to that, and then it goes up. And you also see tools like Webflow, where you can basically just drag and drop boxes and you have a website. These tools are great, but they're not there yet. Like, if you do it on the level where you have one website that goes to 60 markets with millions of visitors, you have to know exactly what you're doing to make that work. So automating that is not there yet, I would say. But our jobs are going to become useless at one point.
Useless even.
Yes. In 10 years, you have algorithms to build the best stuff.
You have?
You'll get algorithms that will be able to code stuff for us. Right?
I'm not sure, actually, to be honest, because it's such a humane job as well, development, because it requires a certain amount of creativity and a certain amount of problem-solving skills that I don't see algorithmically solved or solved by statistical AI in the next 10 years, at least.
Well, 10 years might be a
10
bit
years,
soon.
yeah. I think we're going to reach that point eventually, but I'm not sure how it's going to look like, because in the end, there's also people who need to write these algorithms and maintain them and improve them.
Sure, there's always going to be work for us, let's be honest. This is true.
I think we don't have to worry about that too much. Well, I think like the way the work is going to look like will change over the coming years. Like it's changed dramatically over the past couple of years, moving away from like the jQuery style front ends and the Backbone style front ends, and now we have Vue and React and Angular, and now web components are becoming standard, which is a thing, of course, and the whole serverless workflow that we're now moving towards from like a backend perspective. So there's so much in flux that I'm really excited to see where this is going to go.
Yes, but I also realized, though, there's different segments of this market, right? So the smaller websites, they will be much more automated. And I think also there's all these companies that do this amazing black magic that you don't know how that got so quickly deployed. So that kind of automation will happen, though. Like if you go to bigger projects or more specific ones, clearly will have a job. But everything riding up to it, like all the WordPresses that keep small, they might be automated.
Yeah, I think that's actually sensible.
I nuanced myself a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you see this now already with, as you say, like with Netlify CMS, and with things like Gatsby on the React side, and the whole movement towards headless CMSs, where you update your content and it triggers like this cloud native flow where it pushes your content, as you say. What I find interesting though is that you said like on the enterprise level, you see this movement happening, but it's a lot more slowly. Why do you think that it is so slow?
Well, if you look, for example, like a company like Sitecore. Sitecore is a .NET CMS. It's one of the biggest out there, and they're amazing for content editing workflows. They're great. So for the last 10 years, what they have sold is a monolith. So you edit your content, and you personalize your content for users, and you do that in a nice graphical interface. And when you hit save, it's there. And you have that all in the same nice system. But then this headless trend is coming, and they're like, okay, but if we remain where we are now, in a couple of years, everybody does this headless thing, and we are not, they don't want to buy our product anymore. The thing is, so they're feeling this heat a little bit, so they're starting to put that in. And they're doing it really well, but they have this one caveat. For 10 years, they sold that one experience that works extremely well. And then when you start marketing, yes, but we are also headless, do this now, you invalidate those last 10 years of people that paid you millions to use this globally. So they need to find an in-between way to keep that old experience of amazing content editing, plus then this headless thing that we as developers are happy with. So it's gonna take longer for them to make that mature, because they basically initially, they add this headless part into the monolith. So at least that works, so you can do the content editing in your application. And then once you serve it to the user, then it becomes truly headless and you take it out. But they actually had to complexify their tool chain to do that. And that takes time and effort, and that needs to mature, and it takes some years. Because then you have a company like where I work, we do this huge scale for one instance that would have 5 websites. And each website is different and has a product catalog, and it has different search ways to search and redirects and user influx of data. There's so much going on. If we just throw all that complexity against a tool that was just coming out, that's just challenging. So I'm not saying it's bad, it's actually great, but it takes some time. And all of them are relatively in the same space now. So yeah, that's why it takes a bit longer.
Okay.
Well, I got another question I want to ask you about leadership styles. I see that you're a very kind and friendly personality.
Oh, thank you.
So I would assume you're also leading your team with certain kindness and empathy.
Sure.
Can you explain what have you learned in your leadership career, and what styles work and which styles don't, and just tell us more about that aspect of your career.
How I started is quite strange, but based on that, I learned a lot from that, and I used that day to day. So I grew up being a musician, so I played music all the time. And then I realized, okay, I'm just paying money to tour rather than getting money. It's a hard job. And then, so I wanted this backup, and I became a nurse. So I went to school to be a nurse, and I worked in psychiatry. And then at school, what we learned is to have a discussion with someone. And imagine someone is very sick and you have to give them bad news. The way you deliver that is very specific. And we had to videotape ourselves every day doing this kind of talks with people. And just understand what you say matters a lot, especially if you are in the white coat as a doctor and someone else is not. There's this difference. So that's the one part that makes it complex, and you learn a lot from that. So you will see yourself speaking to someone if you sit like this, or that has impact. And then next to that, it sounds a bit black and white, but there's a difference between nurses and doctors in how they operate in their lives, let's say. So nurses, this is just black and white, right? So it's never like that. But nurses tend to be people who are really focused on the content. So they read a whole book and argue from there. I'm definitely a person like that. But then a doctor, on the other side, is amazing at reading a room and be able to speak, not knowing everything, because a doctor can just not know everything. There's so much to learn. And both of those can get like an A or a 10 on a test, because you just understand your context and understand what to do. But if you're a nurse and you go to a doctor and you say, I need this, this, and this for that patient, they won't listen because they're too busy, and you go with so much content at them. So what we learned is how to manipulate them slightly to go on their level, talk about their day or whatever they liked, and 5 seconds in, and then you ask the question, they'll listen to you. And I always thought, why do I need to learn all this? There's so much conversational stuff and manipulation going on. And now when I'm in front of the CEO of whatever big company we work for, it's exactly the same thing.
So you need to adjust the levels.
You adjust the levels, you read the room, and you just are able to understand how they think, or try anyways. Because most of the people at that level, they are so smart, they already understand everything. And they have 50 meetings a day. So you have to do it in 30 seconds, get it across, but also do it in such a way that they understand you. And of course, this is with clients. But when you understand this concept, when you do it with your team, it also works. But I don't do the manipulation bit, obviously, but just see the people. Like, I was a developer once, or I still am, but everybody comes up. So just trust people. To me, everybody is good at the core, and on whatever comes around in their lives could change you. But I always trust them. And I actually don't always, like, we do job interviews, right? And the first job interview, I never ask about code. I don't even care. I want to know, can you speak? Can you communicate clearly? Can you write something? Are you kind? Do you fit the team? And once that works, then we go to the next step. So you create this balance of people that fit your team. So if you have a team of, how do you say it, like nice guys or nice girls, and you add a prima donna into it, like a badass coder who thinks I'm the best, it's never going to work. But sometimes you just need 3 prima donnas to do amazing stuff. Build a Facebook, let them go away and come back. Or you have a team of a bit more nice people that are, well, nice is not the right word. Everybody can be nice. But they are less outspoken or less personal driven. So you need to find the balance in the teams. And at work, we sometimes even do like exercises like, what color are you? Are you caring, or are you quickly annoyed? And then you teach yourself about yourself or about others, and then we put people together, and that tends to work really well.
Has there ever been a situation where being empathic as you are was a detriment rather than a benefit in your work situation?
Well, the thing is, this is what you get with how I sometimes work, is I want to have meaning in my work, and I want the people who give me the job to be happy. You have that in your personal life, but also in work. So you have all these different personality types, and I'm kind of like, the word pleaser doesn't sound great, but in that context, this is kind of where I could fit. And so sometimes I just work so much because I want to make everybody happy. And so you need to learn when to say no. And especially when you get a bit more known in the community, for example, or you work in a bigger company and they know you will, like when they put me on it, it will just work. But that's also can be a detriment for sure. Because I've been known to work a lot. And that's not always good. Yeah, find your balance in life is important.
Some wise words right there.
Yeah, but I have to be like 35 to only start understanding this, right? It took me a long time, and I'm not there yet. But I think being reflective of what you do is super important. Like, and I always ask feedback, and it's not always easy because I live in France and people are not super direct. But then when they do, it's really insightful because people are like high thinkers in France, and it's great. And just, I always reflect, do I still like my job? Am I still giving value? Do I still have autonomy? And constantly, and it can also be very annoying for my boss because they might be like, oh, but is he leaving? Or what is he looking for? So I've learned the hard way that I shouldn't do that too much because then it looks like I'm never really there, even though I am, because I'm really loyal. Right? So there's always pitfalls, sure.
Okay.
You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. Maybe you want to tell about your mistakes you made that made you learn and grow the most.
Well, what I have actually, the best thing is moving to France for me, because I'm not good at language. Like English, I'm kind of all right because I've had to speak it my whole life. But then speaking French, I'm like a child again. And the thing is, it made me speak slower and listen more because I have a fast brain. And doesn't mean that it's good, it's just fast. So I sometimes speak over people or I make very quick assumptions. And I'm lucky that I have a lot of experience. So I tend to have quick assumptions that tend to be all right because I've done it before. But that can really give you issues, right? Especially if you're in front of a client, you assume something and it's really not true. That's not a good thing to be in that position. So moving to France, making me speak less and think more, that really helped me a lot.
All right.
I think there's another talk in there.
Who knows?
Speak less and think more. I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
It can be, depending on your culture.
Of course. And I think also like
for a Dutch person like me who speaks fast, speaks a lot, thinks quickly, it's really a good thing to do. But you have also people who procrastinate and think deeply a lot, but then do nothing. Right? So you have to always find the balance.
There is always a balance there,
yeah.
Of course.
It's really awesome to talk with you. I think we could go on and on.
Yeah, probably. That's why I did the talk about it.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, there's a question we ask everyone at the end, a fun question. So maybe Chris, you want to ask it?
Yes. So what we are most interested in is when you are coding intensively, what do you like to drink?
What I like to drink?
Yes.
Whoa.
Oh.
That changes over time. Right now it's just water. I drink a lot of water, but that's just because I like it. But never alcohol.
Never alcohol.
No, only after or before.
All right. So there's no Steve Ballmer peak to be had with you.
Who knows? But no.
Who knows?
No, but like this is really great of working where I work. We work with so many different cultures. And lately, especially the people in Brazil, we work with them a lot. And the cool thing is they're super happy that we help them, but they help us way more, but they don't realize it. But they keep giving us presents. And it's always alcohol or like peanuts or like candies. So now that if it's there, yeah, I'll take it.
Well, I'm sorry, nothing's on this table here.
No, but I was fat for a reason.
So when they do give you this alcohol,
it is consumed.
It is consumed,
but not while coding. Generally.
Okay. All right.
I always give it like this is one fun thing. Like we work for Rolex, the awesome watch company, and one day a package arrived on my desk and it was really big. I'm like, that's interesting. Open it up, super nice Rolex box. I'm like, oh, they didn't give me a watch, right? No, of course not. They gave me chocolates, but like the most amazing chocolates you've ever seen. Properly aligned with the Rolex logo on it in a golden piece of paper in a big box. And so now that I'm older, I didn't eat them myself. I gave them to all my colleagues because I'm a manager, so I got them because I did a lot for this client, but actually the team did it. So now that I'm trying to lose some weight, I just, you don't need to eat it all.
No.
Right?
Just have a sample. And then
I did. Yeah, it was good.
Of course.
No, but it's amazing how you can ship chocolates from Geneva in a big box so they don't move. There's like padding like that, right? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's
padding for
premium chocolates.
Yes.
Oh,
that was some premium
very
stuff.
premium.
Yeah.
So
but everything they do is the most amazing it can be. So if you do chocolates, why not?
It's their brand, of course.
Exactly. Their brand is pixel perfect.
Ultimate quality.
Perfection.
Yes.
Pixel perfect.
And so I'm really honored to work with these guys to learn what it means to have the perfect shot or the perfect 3D render or the perfect video on a website and still make it fast. Because that's challenging. Because when I say you have to optimize them, no, we are having the most pixels possible so it looks perfect. So you need to find your way around it. But this is a great challenge.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and that website is amazing. It's the most smooth animations you've ever seen.
I think we need to have a second podcast with Tim explaining about how he optimized for a client like Rolex that demands nothing but the best.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a good plan.
I was really happy that I did that many years for Chanel. They're similar. They're not the same brands, clearly. They're in a different space. But it's amazing to have the discussions with the people that make the bags or take the pictures. The story behind that brand is so amazing. There's so much there. And you feel proud as a developer that you can actually show that on a page. And you start to like the story of the lady herself and how she emancipated. And so giving a story behind what you built, that is super cool. So I'm lucky that I had that.
Nice. Yeah, I think we could talk on
yes.
and on with you.
Yeah, sure.
It's so interesting. Yeah, I think we need to wrap up.
Sure.
That's been amazing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for the listeners to tune in. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Doeg.